Just a couple of best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out.
Yeah. So we are back again, and it's a whole new year of fantasy football, which is pretty exciting. I was really stoked for fantasy football to come back this year, football in general to come back this year, because there was, a big question mark hanging over it, just like any other sport. So the fact that we were all able to agree and get together and all that was just an awesome way for us to alleviate all this quarantine pressure and all that kind of stuff. Just sports back in general. There's been baseball, basketball, UFC was the first one to come back, and I'm just fired up for all this. So fantasy football is a big part of all of our lives. It's a big part of us keeping in contact with each other. So therefore, it is one of my favorite things that we have going on in my life anyway, and hopefully you guys feel all the same way. This podcast, I wasn't gonna do it, but I decided, screw it. What else am I doing here in quarantine? I basically work 3 days a week, 4 if I can find a gig somewhere, so I have plenty of free time, so why not? Basically, this episode, I'm just going to kind of review the draft weekend that half the league had, and then I'm going to kind of talk about the draft itself and my favorite pick from each round and my least favorite pick from each round. So that's where I'm going with this. So, where do I begin? There were a lot of highlights this weekend, and we'll get more into it as I'm going to do like a timeline thing for it. So, we started on Thursday, and basically Curtis and Colin, they had their COVID testing. We all know COVID Brad, the COVID kid, kind of threw a wrench in the works, no fault of his own, but it caused everyone to kind of have this panic moment where they're like, oh shit, this is really happening. It could derail this whole weekend. And fortunately, it did not derail the whole weekend. We were able to get through it. Double negative Colin and double negative Kurt, filling in for Bacon, came to Concord, California, to my little Solano house here. And we just started drinking heavily from the onset. I think I was already actually drinking heavily by the time they got here, but I was drinking whiskey, as I always do now. And we decided to kind of practice for these beer pong games that we're going to do, the tournament. So we all got together and beer ponged and then drank whiskey all night long. It was a long night. I ended up going to bed at about 3 a.m. So I felt horrible, not surprisingly, the next day. Everyone knows it wasn't quite the top 5 that everyone had hoped for, but it was still pretty freaking bad, let me tell you. It started with me just being dead asleep, completely dead asleep, and I felt like my toes being tickled. And if you guys have cats at home, you know that sometimes your cats will play with your hands or your feet when you're sleeping. So I thought it was Purd, my cat, and I kept kicking him away, like, no, leave me alone, Purd, no, leave me alone, Purd. And then it wasn't Purd, it was Colin tickling my feet to wake me up at about 9:30. To my shock. It's definitely weird to wake up to another man tickling your feet, but it did the trick, and I got up, took about a 20-minute shower where I just kind of went hot and cold with my head down, just like being like, this is my life now. This is my life. It was a tough one, but some Pedialyte and some 5-Hour Energy brought me at least back to the point where I could shuffle around and feel like a normal human being, and I wasn't just, struggling. So Evan ended up coming over. Curtis Amber made some awesome McDonald like breakfast sandwich type deals, and we got out to disc golf, which was awesome. It was me, Evan, Kurt, Colin, and Tom, my brother-in-law and bass player. So the first round, Curtis absolutely murdered us. He was like 4 under through 9, and everyone else was either even. I was +2, I think, I think Tom might have been +1. Maybe Evan was +1. Can't remember. But we're all playing with the real disc golf discs, not the lids like we've been playing with. Although I have fun doing both, but this was fun kind of switching it up. And so we ended up getting stupid high off this joint. And it was kind of a tale of two outcomes for each person. I ended up playing better, which never happens. But Evan was throwing into every tree he could possibly find. And Curtis played a little bit worse, but he was still like 1 under, maybe 2 under. Colin came back and ended up taking over and getting second place in the last 3 holes. I had the lead going into 7, and then I bogeyed and he birdied. So then that lead was gone, and then it was just par from there on out. So anyway, disc golf was fun. Still felt terrible. We got some Kinder sandwiches though. It was delicious. And then we went to Costco, and it was funny seeing the difference between our cart and Curtis's cart, because our cart was like 4 36 packs, a bunch of meat and snacks and stuff. And then we go over to Curtis, and it's all like healthy produce and crap like that. So thank God for Curtis, because we would have just had meat and beer and eggs literally all weekend had he not kind of stepped up to the plate and done the responsible adult healthy lifestyle thing. And actually Curtis was pretty much an MVP maybe the whole weekend, because he was cooking breakfast, cleaning, and also made salads every single day for the whole group. So shout out Curtis. But yeah, that day we ended up getting there, I guess, all around 6. Maybe Adam and O'Malley got there a little earlier. But we got there and then just immediately started, rounding into drinking form here. Played some beer pong again to warm up for this thing. And the best thing about that is that's when Fratam was born. He was wearing like this short-sleeved, almost like Hawaiian-inspired dad shirt and an A's hat. So we asked him to unbutton a few buttons, pop the collar, and put the hat on backwards. And it was Fratam. So now we have Thatam, Fratam, Yatam. Maybe when he's being a little grumpy, he can be Bratum. But yeah, Fratam has been one of my favorite versions of Adam over the years. So we got some fun pictures and videos of Fratam. But yeah, we didn't go to bed till about 2:30. And yeah, pretty tired. Bill decided to take shots right before he went to bed, and he woke up feeling horrible. I actually felt fine. I think everyone else felt tired, but fine. The sleeping arrangements were pretty good. There were a couple beds upstairs. I was on a comfy couch downstairs. Evan was on a couch that was like a few inches too short for him, so he just went to the floor. And it was just all in all a good sleeping arrangement. It was like an awesome Airbnb, basically. And I think we've probably all been to the Disco Bay house at one time. But to paint a picture, there's upstairs, downstairs, and then there's a balcony overlooking the Disco Bay Lake. Gorgeous. The algae was pretty bad, but it was still gorgeous. So Saturday morning, Bill threw up, feeling horrible. Everyone else is kind of just chilling. Kurt, again, made breakfast with, I think, Evan. And then we started a pretty chill game of Villainous. It was me, Adam, O'Malley, and Colin. And it was a competitive game for sure. A high-level game, fast turns. O'Malley picked it up pretty quickly. But Colin took home the W with Maleficent. So all the training he's been doing with Chelsea across the country has really paid off, because he ended up getting the W. I think Maleficent is one of the easier characters, but you could say that about a lot of characters. He was saying that my guy, Prince John, was one of the easier characters, and I don't agree with that. He has a losing record in my household, where Maleficent is almost undefeated. Adam was Scar. I really like that, because you just kill people all the time, but we kept Hakuna Matata, kept on doing Hakuna Matata to him, and chasing Mufasa away over and over and over and over again, and it was really triggering him, so that was funny. Hakuna Matata. But if you haven't played Villainous yet and you enjoy board games, I think it's a good one. We played pretty much Bang the whole weekend because it was a little bit faster play. Villainous can really go long with multiple people, but Bang was killer. We loved Bang. I was really bad at Bang to start with, but I started to kind of develop more. I think Adam was saying he felt like he was bad at Bang too, and he developed pretty well too. But yeah, Bill was feeling horrible. Ended up playing Villainous until the game started happening. So we started busting into the White Claws, drinking a little bit of whiskey. And I decided to start, warming up for the competition because I never feel good like going cold into the beer pong things. You always got to throw the ball a few times. And I was absolutely abysmal in my warm-ups. I played Evan and O'Malley, and I got murked by both of them. And on top of that, I was kind of shooting by myself after that, and I didn't make a single cup in about 10 minutes of shooting. So it was not looking good for old Stu. But yeah, I started those virtual games, and I think I liked the taller tables better. We had that low beer pong table, and then we had one that O'Malley will claim is the same height, but really it was about a 6-inch difference between the tabletops on the two. And for some reason, I just think the lower it goes, I just have less of a chance of making it. Not sure why, but that's the way I felt about it anyway. I ended up playing Max first. I was pretty stoked. Max is not super known for his beer pong ability, and I felt like I could get the W with him even if I wasn't playing at my best, which I didn't play at my best against him. I sat on last cup for like 10 shots, but eventually made that last cup. We were 1-on-1 at that point. I made the last one. And there's a different kind of tension when you're playing online because you have to like move out of your spot and like lean over and watch, and all you can really see are them throw it and then the cups, and you're like just kind of holding your breath. But I think he definitely overachieved because he ended up getting, I think, 4th, which is really good. But I took down Max. Then right after that, I went 1-on-1 with Evan at the beer pong table, and I just absolutely smashed him. And at this point, I started feeling in my rhythm. I think I went on fire twice against him. I beat him in probably about 5 turns or so. Evan really got the short end of the stick. He got me, and then I think he got smashed by maybe Pebbles. I would have to look at the bracket. I can bring it up here one sec. But apparently he got smashed in both games and just didn't really have much of a chance. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Evan got smashed by Pebbles 6-4, and he lost to me 6-2. So after that, I go to O'Malley, who found out he's going to federal prison probably. He went on a work call, and now we call him Indict Malley. But yeah, he looked super shook when he came off the call, and then he had to go right into a game, 1-on-1 beer pong game with me, and I was able to take him down pretty quickly, 6-4. Then I moved on to play against Weaver, and Weaver also in the play-in games crushed Kurt 6-2, crushed Bill 6-3, and I was kind of spectating that one, and then crushed Colin 6-3. So at this point, he was better cup differential than me, and the hottest player in beer pong at the time. So I was definitely worried about playing Weaver, but we went at it, and we had a nice, I had a pretty good round. I think I got him down to 2 cups, or he was down to me on 2 cups when I hit the last one. So he hit one on rebuttal and then couldn't make the last one. So I beat him 6-5 there. He bounces back to play Colin, who's also playing pretty well. Colin beats Pebs in the play-in game 6-5, beats Brad in the next one 6-5, and then gets smoked by Weaver. So he goes down and plays Pebbles again after Pebbles beats Adam 6-5. So Colin and Pebs happen again, and Colin just smokes Pebbles 6-2. Plays O'Malley, and at this point we didn't really keep track of the scores at this point. But I know Colin beat O'Malley, and then Colin played Weaver, and I think Weaver handled him pretty good. So at this point, we're double elimination. Have to be beaten twice to get eliminated. I'm in the finals against Weaver, who's only lost to me. So this was basically the beginning of a 3-game series for us. I kind of felt like I was pretty cold at that point. I have been sitting around for like 30 minutes. And I think I waited for Weaver to play at least 2 games. So by the time we meet again, I'm feeling a little cold. Weaver's feeling it. I actually wanted to ice him, but then I was just like, fuck it, let's play. And I actually do pretty well. I have the whole room rooting against me, which is kind of bullshit, but it happens when the crown weighs heavy, some would say. You know, everyone hated the Warriors when they were killing it. Everyone hates the Pats when they kill it. And everyone hates on me when I'm crushing in beer pong. So I'm beating Weaver. I feel like it's kind of back and forth, but I'm beating him. I get down to 1 cup first. He might have 2 or 3 left. And he just eats through the cups in like 3 or 4 turns. And I just cannot get that last cup for probably like 10 turns. I'm shooting at it, just cannot get it. So he beats me. So now we're tied 1-1 going into the final elimination game, double elimination, where it's a true final. And that was really fun because we had pretty much the whole league watching. At least I hope they were. I know that everyone in the house was watching and rooting hard for Weaver. Booing me, kept talking about how I was shook and all this shit, which is maybe a little true. But I end up going super cold. I think Weaver he's beating me. I think he gets 3 before I get 1. I think I respond on that 3rd one. And then I think I get the 5th one, so then I'm down to 4. And he gets a couple more. He's beating me by a couple, I think, pretty much the whole game until he gets the last cup. And then he has the same shit that happened to him, happened to me in the in the second game, where he just could not get the last cup. And then I get, I think it was 3. I might have got 2 or 3. I kind of just blazed through him in like 3 or 4 turns and end up taking the W and becoming the three-time Hall of Fame drinking champion, which, I mean, we've been doing this league for, 9 years? We've been doing these competitions for probably like 7, and I haven't been at 2 of them, so I'm basically 3 for 5 in this shit. Pretty impressive. Patting myself on the back, but it felt good. It honestly felt better to win that beer pong tournament than it did to win the actual league championship last year. So I think it felt like more of a relief to win the league championship. And also, it's like not everyone's watching. You know, people kind of lose interest after they get eliminated from the league. So I got a lot of joy out of that beer pong tournament. That was really fun. I like the DraftKings thing. It was all right. I got so many pop-ups though from it, which is pretty annoying. And I don't really know fantasy baseball at all. I played like 1 year in college, maybe 2 years in college. So I just went to some random ass website and basically just filled in a team. So they did all right. It was like middle of the road. I think I got 6th or 7th. But the poker thing, that was awesome. That was awesome. Because we were all just huddled up in one room on our, the 3rd or 4th attempt on getting everyone in there. And we were all in a circle, and then we just, someone figured out how to throw Kleenex boxes. And at that point, it was just off to the races, and people cared more about the Kleenex than they did about the actual game. So the Kleenex boxes were a-flying. I was really tanked at this point. I was taking shots and just could not really remember what was going on at this point, but I was getting smashed by Kleenex boxes over and over and over again. And I went in all in twice and survived. Then on my 3rd one, I think I lost. So that sucked, but I still got middle of the road daily fantasy, middle of the road poker, and the win for the beer pong gave me the most points. So I settled into 1st place and felt pretty chill about that. We went to bed super early that night, Saturday night. We started watching The Matrix Reloaded on mute, and that was kind of a low point for us. It took us a while to realize that there's no reason for it to be on mute. But it was almost better because when we actually heard what was going on in the movie, it just confirmed how bad the movie was. So I ended up going to bed. Felt great the next morning. Everyone felt great the next morning. More breakfast from Kurt and Evan. Getting ready for the draft. We decide to go out to Safeway. We broke the bubble wide open because we were completely out of White Claw. So at this point, let me think. We have 4 36 packs, and I think we had 4 12 packs of White Claw. So we had gone through a couple of the 36 packs and all of the White Claws at that point. So we get about 18 IPAs, some mimosas, and more White Claw for this event. We also got some bagels, which were delicious. And I'm going to get more into the draft in the second half of this podcast. So I thought the draft, but just to kind of touch on it, I thought the draft went super well. The draft was, by all accounts, one of the faster drafts, even at 3.5, 4 hours than normal. And I thought the online people crushed it. I mean, last year when I was drafting online, you don't really have anything to do but just chill and try to figure out what your plan is, where when you're actually at the draft, there's so much shit going on. I got distracted, had a horrible turn one time because I was playing guitar with Kurt. But yeah, it was. I was actually really impressed with the speed at which everyone was picking. Other than that one draft pick, even with my turn, my 2-pick turn, I was doing pretty good. I was picking real fast. And Peebley picked fast. Colin was a little slow here and there, but everyone really picked well. I liked it. So after that on Sunday, we're kind of trying to figure out, do we turn up more? Because usually at this point in the draft weekend, half the cars leave to go home, and we didn't really have shit to do, so we were all staying there. We started swimming around. I got involved in another draft that I was trying to pick, but I kept on getting drunk and distracted and missing out. I drafted a guy with COVID, so that happened. And I was trying to cook chicken. I was trying to cook tri-tip. The boys were swimming in the poisonous algae. It was a good life there. So we started kind of, figuring out whether we're going to turn up or turn down. And I'm not really sure where it happened, but we just started turning up big time. We started joking about the chicken ranch bet, and the chicken ranch bet, let me tell you, that was the funniest thing. We were talking to Colin. Originally, it was me and Colin doing a chicken ranch bet, and I can't remember what it was for. But, it was Brian Burns sack total versus Joey Bosa sack total. And that was maybe not the best bet. I don't think we ever came up with terms. Maybe Colin can remind me. But definitely have the chicken ranch bet was on the table. We talked about it. I think he thought that you needed to work there, which clearly no one's working at Chicken Ranch. I live in Concord. But the bet was to apply and to interview. So just to be clear, you apply to California or Santa Barbara Chicken Ranch. You do whatever you can to get that interview. You lie. You say you worked at McDonald's for 10 years. You put Evan as a reference, and then he'll pretend like he was your McDonald's manager or something. And Evan was arguing that he couldn't possibly work at California Chicken Ranch because of all of his reference and all of his wealth of data science experience, and acting like he couldn't just doctor a resume to get an interview. But Colin thoroughly rejected the bet, but we were just dying laughing thinking about it because it was such a funny bet. So we all go out to the backyard to smoke a joint, and Bill looks at me. He goes, "Hey, dude, I'll do the California Chicken Ranch bet with you, Santa Barbara Chicken Ranch bet with you." And we ironed out the details. It was just you have to apply, and then if they call you for an interview, you have to do an online interview And you have to open up another tab from like Zoom or Google Hangouts and mute everybody and invite everybody in the league to watch you do your Santa Barbara Chicken Ranch interview. So that might be the greatest bet of all time in the league, the Santa Barbara Chicken Ranch. You have to apply, and if they call you, you have to interview. So I thought that was the best. Bill and I were pretty fucked up when we did it, but we woke up the next day and we're super happy about it. So at this point, we're trying to figure out whether to turn up or not, and we decided to play beer ball. After, more beer pong, just kind of soft playing it, we decided to play beer ball, and it was me, Bill, and Evan. And oh my God, this is when the rabbling really started. The weekend was actually pretty rabble-free until this point. Everyone was rabbling on what was more effective way to play beer ball with 7 people. Now, keep in mind, Curtis didn't want to play, so the whole conversation was irrelevant. But the argument was, is it better to have 4 people with 4 cans and 4 shots versus 3 people with 3 cans and 3 shots, or just having 4 cans, 3 people, and then one of them drinks a little more and shoots a little more? Anyway, we rabbled about this for about 30 minutes or so. A lot of rabbling. Doesn't matter the whole time because Curtis doesn't want to play. Curtis has to vehemently describe to everybody on the table that he does not want to play. So we finally go 3-3. Me, Bill, Evan, crush our cans in a dramatic comeback. And then we play again and we beat them again. It's hot as fuck at this point. I mean, it's hot the whole weekend, but we were in the AC'd house all day. Now we're in the garage, super hot. Decide to go back in and play a rousing game of Bang. If I, again, am not very good at Bang by any means, but this was a really fun one, an especially fun one, because we made up a drinking game. We were all pretty hammered by this point. Completely... maybe we played Bang before beer ball. It's all hazy, but the Bang game was super fun because you had to drink. You had to drink for every time you were banged, and you didn't have a miss, so you lose a life. Every time you lose a life, you have to take a drink. If you use a beer card, you have to take a hefty drink. And if you play a bang and someone misses, so you take a shot, and then people play the miss card, then you have to drink for every miss card. So it's a lot. And then the best drinking game rule of the whole thing was, if you pronounce a card in English instead of the Italian, you have to drink. So if you say miss instead of mancato, then you have to drink. If you say, what are some of the other ones? Prigione instead of prison, you have to drink. And Colin was especially bad at this rule, but everyone else did a pretty good job. O'Malley was really good at it, and it was fun to watch. And that made the game super fun. I was the renegade that game, and I made it one versus Sheriff, who was O'Malley. Sheriff O'Malley was a libertarian sheriff. He was a just and fair sheriff. And he just murked me immediately. But I was pretty happy I got down one-on-one with the renegade, because every other time we had played, I'd been eliminated first or second. One time I had Bill play, was he Calamity Jane? I can't remember. And we started calling her Chlamydia Jane at a certain point. But he killed me in one turn with like 6 bangs in a row. Anyway... it got really dicey after that. At this point, it's probably like 2 a.m. or so, and Adam and I start arguing about the playlist that me and Colin had made. I thought that I had made it pretty clear that I wanted help with it, but I hadn't shared it or made it public. And Adam was convinced that I didn't do enough to explain that I wanted help with it or give people the opportunity to help with it. So we argued about this for about 35 minutes. And the whole time, people are just trying to get people to eat limes. So O'Malley's like, "You're wrong, Stu. You have to eat the slime now. You have to eat the slime." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not wrong." And I didn't even think he was listening. So I was getting frustrated with the whole lime thing being like shoved in my face. So I grabbed the lime and I just threw it into the other room, and I just hit Bill's parents' TV with this lime, this like half a lime, like head on. And it was at that point that I knew I fucked up and I was the asshole. So I was like, fine, I'll eat the lime. I'll eat the lime. I deserve it. So I ate the lime. It wasn't really that bad, to be honest. It kind of was like a tequila shot. It was a little rindy, but wasn't nearly as bad as one would expect. So I did my acceptance speech for the championship trophy. Bill gave a pretty nice little speech, handed it off. I grabbed it, thanked the haters, and then I tried to take a shot off of the armchair quarterback's dick. So the first time we tried to do it, I thought it would just kind of go down like a slide, like down his chest into my mouth. But Colin like poured it all over his head, so it was going everywhere. It was a disaster. I got about probably like a quarter shot in my mouth from that. But we decided we needed to do better. So we decided to change it up, do a blowjob shot with the armchair quarterback, put the shot in his lap, and drank it that way. And that was a lot more successful. And then that's when I got in an argument with Adam after that and threw the lime and did all that shit. So we all go to bed at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, wake up, feel horrible, clean up the whole house, and eat some breakfast, watch some golf, and take off. So it was a very successful weekend. It was just nice to be with the boys and just have that kind of event for the first time in this whole quarantine thing. It was a breath of fresh air. Anyway, let's talk now about the draft. The draft was very, very smooth, and I thought it was very high level. There was a lot going on here. I'm going to go ahead and review everyone's theme songs really quick. I don't have any clue what I want to do with my theme name. It's bad. All right, let me find out this shit. Walk Up 2020. All right. Stewart, Shimmy Shimmy Ya. Pebbles. Originally, he picked Old Town Road, but we just were like, come on, man. We built this city, and there's not even a thing. Come on. It's not even a question. And that actually gave Weaver his first pick because Pebbles submitted Old Town Road first, but then because we forced him to do We Built the City, we gave Old Town Road to Weaver. In the Summertime by Mungo Jerry for Max, which I love. And then kind of the weird one, but turned out to be kind of fun, was The COVID Kid, a cello suite, number 1 in G major. And then O'Malley, this is probably my favorite one of the weekend, was Walk Hard from the Dewey Cox story. That one's great. Yeah, great. That was an awesome one. And The Man for Bacon, Welcome to the Jungle, kind of a plain Jane song, but still a classic for Colin. And then this was the one that we convinced Bill to do the night prior when we were all messed up. We had him do Rockstar by Post Malone. Yeah, it was just fire. It was freaking awesome. So Rockstar was next, Sad But True, classic Novum theme song. Then Adam went so hard in the paint with every high school football playlist of all time, Can't Be Touched. And then Evan made everybody feel uncomfortable with Sit on My Face by Wheeler Walker Jr. Yeah, so... Oh, that one's... Oh, God. Yeah, it's still uncomfortable. But it's a great song. Great song. So that rounded out all the theme songs there. And now I'll just kind of go over probably just like the first, I don't know, probably for the first like 10 rounds, I guess. I could do all of them, but it kind of gets real sketchy at a certain point to try to talk about my favorite and least favorite. So round one, Christian McCaffrey is obviously my favorite player, but in terms of picking, I think that Josh Jacobs at 11 was actually a pretty damn good value. I like Josh Jacobs a lot this year. I've drafted him in other leagues. Alvin Kamara at 5 was dope, but I like Josh Jacobs a lot. So that one goes to Adam. My least favorite one was Kenyon Drake. And not because I don't think Kenyon Drake can do well. I think he definitely can do well. I just thought it was a little bit higher than his ADP. But if you got the guy you want, you got the guy you want. And I think the other guy you wanted, Bill, was Eckler. So you got him too. However, I think you could have also walked away with maybe like Josh Jacobs there, who I like better, and then maybe even have Kenyon Drake fall to you. Because after that, it was Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. So running back, you might have lost out on Kenyon Drake at that point. Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, but you could have gotten maybe a Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones in that second round if you hadn't gotten Kenyon Drake. So then at that point, you would have been at Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones instead of Kenyon Drake and Austin Eckler. So because I don't love Eckler, I don't know if he's really a true 3-down type of player. He had a lot of success in the backfield, but that was with Phillip Rivers, who's just notorious for just checking down to his running back. And I don't know if Tyrod Taylor is going to do that same thing. So I don't know if we can expect that first few week production before Melvin Gordon came back from Austin Eckler that we got. I could be wrong, though. That's just my opinion. All right, so round 2. The pick that I didn't like here is George Kittle in the second round. Now, this is a famous argument, Travis Kelce versus George Kittle. The argument for George Kittle is he's the only real target there in San Francisco, I guess. That's the argument. But my argument against him is he just does not have the target volume that Kelce has. He never has, and it's not even close in terms of the comparison. Travis Kelce has a better quarterback. He's got better target volume, and he's done more, I think, with I mean, we could look at the freaking stats here, but I liked, if you're going to take a tight end there, I would have taken Kelce, but the heart wants what the heart wants, and we all had a fun homer pick out of that one. Now, the one that I like the best here, let's see. I really like what Novum was able to do, getting Julio Jones and Michael Thomas. In my opinion, the best 2 wide receivers in the draft. Adam took Devontae Adams. That's kind of his boy. But, yeah, Julio Jones and Michael Thomas is a pretty nasty wide receiver stack. I think Julio Jones is a lot better than people think because he's kind of just boring now. Doesn't score many touchdowns. But he's an incredible player still, and in my opinion, top 2 wide receiver. I picked Chris Carson here. Didn't love it. I was going to take Galladay, and that kind of fucked my whole plan up. So I took Allen Robinson, who I'm kind of scared of. So in round 3, let's see here. So this is when quarterbacks went off the board. Okay. So it's tough to say here. I think my least favorite pick here was probably Odell Beckham Jr., just because he hasn't been good for a few years now. I really was high on him going into last year, and then he let me down so much. So I just don't really like him anymore. I would have rather had taken Thielen, Jonathan Taylor. Let's see, who do you have? 6, lucky number. You had Hopkins already, and you had Dalvin Cook. Hopkins, I think, will bust this year, but yeah, Hopkins and Beckham could be a bust. So there was also Jonathan Taylor on the board, who I'm pretty high on. David Johnson on the board. So yeah, that was my least favorite pick, was Odell Beckham Jr. Did I do my favorite pick here yet? Jeez, I do like David Johnson. I think David Johnson is. I think Coach Bill O'Brien has a lot of his reputation at stake. I mean, his reputation's already pretty fucked, but he traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. So he has a lot of incentive to play him. A lot of incentive. So I think David Johnson is being undervalued in drafts, and at the end of the third, it's a pretty nice pickup. So right now, Rent the Tents has Jacobs, Johnson, and Adams, and that's a pretty nice triplet right there. So round 4, my least favorite, just by default, complete default, is Le'Veon Bell. He was on my do not draft list at all. I think that his coach hates him. He's plotting. He's on an offense that's complete trash. My brother-in-law was saying, no, but he could go to another team and then have great value. But that's a lot to ask for when you're drafting him in the 4th round. Like, there's so many players you can get at this point. I thought that was kind of tough. You can get Keenan Allen, Brown, Chark, Kupp, Woods. I would have taken all those guys. DK Metcalf, Sutton. So, yeah, I guess if you really need a running back, what did you have by then? You had Dalvin Cook. Then you had DeAndre, and then Odell. So you're hunting for a running back at that point. I even like the upside of a Kareem Hunt more than Le'Veon Bell. So that was my least favorite pick just by default. My favorite pick in that round, I think Never Neg Novum getting Mark Ingram in the 4th round was pretty great value. He might only get 20 touches a game, but when you have the wide receiving core that he has, and then he also gets Jonathan Taylor, who has the potential to be a really boomy running back this year, especially for that value. I really like Mark Ingram in that spot in the 4th round. All right, so round 5, and I'm only going to do a couple more of these because it's a long draft. So round 5, let's see here. I really love this Cortland Sutton pick in the middle of round 5, but I have to say I love Devontae Parker by Colin of Troy. God, he went back to that name. Jesus Christ. Colin of Troy picking Devontae Parker, who in my opinion is a borderline wide receiver 1. He's had 1,100 yards. He had 1,200 yards last year. 128 targets and 9 touchdowns last year. Exact same position, same workload to be expected. And you got him with the 8th pick of the 5th round. I was really hoping that everyone was sleeping on him and I'd get him back. But that did not happen. My least favorite pick here is probably, it's tough to say, but probably Ronald Jones. He just doesn't do anything for me. The Leonard Fournette thing is tough. I just don't like Ronald Jones this year. I think it's going to be tough for him. I think that Leonard Fournette probably takes over the job. So, didn't like the Ronald Jones pick. I'll do 2 more. All right, round 6. This is kind of a tough one because now it's like a lot of just upside players and like try not to fuck up. My least favorite pick was probably Deebo Samuel. I thought there were a lot of running backs on the board here, and Deebo Samuel is full of question marks, has a low volume passing attack, not the best quarterback in the world throwing to him in Jimmy GQ. I don't think anyone would argue that he's a top 12 quarterback. Yeah, I just think I just would not take Deebo Samuel this high. There's a lot. There's Brandon Cooks on the board. Let's see who else is on the board. 4 wide receivers. I guess, man, I was getting a little thin in wide receiver at this point, but I still don't love him. And my favorite pick, I think, again, was Novum getting Antonio Gibson in the 6th round. He was chased out of Washington Adrian Peterson was chased out of Washington because Gibson looked so promising and was doing so well. Now, the offense is going to be real suspect, for sure. But, again, Novum is finding, by all accounts, the number 1 overall running back for a team in the 6th round. And I like how he kind of hedged his bets with Jonathan Taylor. Because if Jonathan Taylor doesn't get the start right away, then he can play Antonio Gibson, he can play Mark Ingram, then have his 2 stud wide receivers. He also has Kareem Hunt, who's the same kind of guy. If he's just one injury away from being like a potential top 5 value at the running back position. So Novum right now has 4 running backs that could all blow up this year. Mark Ingram will probably be what he is, but the other 3 could all blow up. So I love Novum's draft so far. So at this point, we're in round 7. I was really happy to get Deshaun Watson here. I feel like he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks, a true difference-making quarterback. I would not be surprised if he outscores Lamar Jackson this year just because of Lamar Jackson throwing so many touchdown passes on like, I think he was like 9% of his throws were touchdown passes. And even if it was like 5% of his throws, it said that he would still have only like 23 touchdown passes. So I think there's regression there for Lamar, and I would not be surprised if Deshaun Watson just blows up as one of the top fantasy quarterbacks. I was able to get him here in 7 when the other 2 that I feel like are maybe a little bit higher than him in terms of tiers, but they got him in the 3rd round, and then Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round. So I like Deshaun Watson in the 7th. But if I had to pick someone that was not mine, I guess I would go with Brandon Cooks. He's a little hurt right now, a little banged up, but he could potentially be the top wide receiving threat in that offense if all goes well, and that's in round 7. That's like I'm calling him a wide receiver 1 in terms of their depth chart. So getting a wide receiver 1 of that team's depth chart in the 7th round is pretty great. So let's see. I really didn't like the Hawkinson pick. I think the Hawkinson pick was maybe just for the Hawk and Cock meme, I guess. I don't really understand it. Especially because you could have gotten him probably like 4 or 5 rounds later. So it was the ADP thing and also the unknown thing. But by all accounts, he should be a stud. So if you get him for his top upside of what he could potentially be, and that's what he is, then that 7th round pick is pretty much right on the money. But you're pretty much paying for only one outcome, which is the best outcome you can possibly hope for with this guy, and that's at the 7th round. And odds are he's probably going to underperform or perform less than his best possible outcome. So I thought it was a little high. Anyway, that was the first 7 rounds. In terms of who won the draft, I loved Adam's draft. I thought Scott's draft started off really strong and then kind of took kind of a dive in the end. So I'll say Adam. I loved Adam's draft. I think the toughest drafts are probably O'Malley and Bacon. And O'Malley's is more because of my own personal belief, where Bacon was, I feel like, drafting people a lot higher than their ADP. I really think that Hopkins is going to bust because there are a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. I just don't think he's going to get the target volume that he got in Houston. He's still one of the best wide receivers in the league. I just don't think he gets the volume to be drafted that high. I think Odell Beckham Jr. can bust. I think Le'Veon Bell will bust. So that's a lot of busts in the top 4. So that's why I think. And I think, I just think that that's a lot. Dalvin Cook, I think that was a great value pick. I think if he's healthy, he's probably a top 3 running back. So who knows? I mean, we could all be wrong here. Anyway, that's just about it. I'm chilling here. Felt horrible yesterday. Just felt like my body was completely hating me. So I'm going to take a little break from the alcoholic beverages until probably Sunday. But until then, I like to imagine all of us sitting in a circle, legs crossed, eyes closed, back straight, holding hands, and singing together that we're just a couple of best
Best friends hanging out, best friends hanging out.